The idea that the first, second, and our amendments are only made for Christians, I think they would have explicitly said that. Our country, I think, was founded on the explicitly the opposite, and they would have said Christian explicitly.
I gotta pause.
The writers of our constitutions were all lawyers.
And I gotta pause. With all due respect, you are completely wrong, and you need to read all of what the founding fathers had written about this because it is fairly explicit.
Yeah, and I think there was a range of religion amongst them, and I think they would have explicitly
the range of religion was Presbyterian, Unitarian. The range of religion was Christian religion. There are no Jewish founders. There are no Muslim founders. There are no Buddhist founders. There were no atheist founders.
Let's pause a second. Let's start with the Fifth Amendment. Do you know why the founding fathers created 4th, 5th, and 6th?
Specifically, no. But
it's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. It is literally, as the spoken word of the founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin said it is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer, which was a play on Blackstone's formulation. It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer, which is literally written. And real quick, the story was Sodom and Gomorrah. It is better, if but one righteous person exists, I will not destroy this land. It was literally the Bible, which is why they said we should enshrine this in our Constitution.
And the inalienable rights that Americans enjoy are given by God, and they don't mean Ashanti Chakra. They mean the Christian deity.
I don't think they.
In every,
I think they would have said so. I think you guys are really overlooking how intelligent and smart the founders were, and if they thought Christian and they wanted the country to be explicitly Christian, they would have explicitly said so. And I think that's why you guys have to read into it. That's why you guys have to read it into it.
I got to stop you.
A Jew telling you to read between the lines.
I have read a lot of the foundational documents, and they would have explicitly written in Christianity.
When he asked you about 3, 4, and 5, could you have read them out? Do you know what they are?
No, not explicitly. Not explicitly. But that doesn't. I'm not rejecting.
You don't know the amendments you're talking about. Everyone else at the table
rejecting the religious influence on our founding documents. I'm saying they would have explicitly.
Tim, you've done it again. You found the only stupid Jew.
Moral.
My favorite. Guys, hold on.
Why don't you think they would have included Christian in the code of moral?
We found the only retarded. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Sorry. I know I'm not supposed to say that. Sorry.
Let's pause real quick. Real quick.
In 2024.
I never know.
When they say a good and moral people, they believe that other religions are immoral because that was the standard.
Including yours.
The standard back then. That was
would have said so explicitly.
The phrase. Excuse me. Just because I know that you are a recovering libertarian, my dear friend Phil. That's not the expression. The expression is a moral and religious people.
Fair enough.
And the religion is Christianity.
Now I want to pause. My favorite amendment is Amendment 7. Okay.
What's Amendment 7?
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. How about you tell us, Milo? Stop, Tim. How about you tell us, Milo?
Well, he's a British guy.
Wait, no. Let's hear it. Milo's willing to call me out on knowing it, not knowing it.
I don't know what it is.
Milo doesn't have a shit. Doesn't know either. He'll complain about Dr. Oz being a dual citizen. He's only a British citizen, so it's really rich.
I'd like to open up to anybody else.
So
who
funny,
knows?
Milo.
Any of you guys know this? Okay, Elad, please. Guys, does anybody else want to take a strike at the 7th Amendment?
I don't know off the top of my top.
I don't know anybody.
No one knows this one.
Nobody knows the 7th.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. The 7th Amendment matters, sort of. It's the right to jury trials in civil cases so long as it's over $20. Now, here's the funny part. Back then, $20 was nuts. Today, $20 ain't nothing. So there is a dramatic change in what that amendment means based on inflation and Federal Reserve policies, which I find hilarious. That being said, Elad, there are numerous writings. Now, I will stress this. There were some founding fathers who were deist. They believed in God. They didn't follow Christian moral teachings. But your argument is a classic and incorrect argument, which doesn't actually look into the letters, the writings, the books. What you're saying is, why didn't they explicitly state this?
I mean, it's in the
Declaration
of Independence.
It's the fish and water argument. Okay. So let me start you here.
I think they were purposefully inclusive. The founding fathers were purposefully inclusive.
How about I finish?
Sure.
Do you know how air was discovered?
Do I know? It wasn't officially ever discovered.
Yes, it was. You are completely incorrect.
Air was discovered. Okay.
You are completely incorrect.
When was water discovered?
Air.
Please don't make this guy your White House correspondent. My God in heaven.
When was zero discovered?
It was a concept. It kind of always existed. It was
no. Oh my God!
It didn't always exist.
No, it did not.
Humans did not have a concept of zero. It was discovered. Humans did not know that air existed. They thought there was nothing here. It was the ether. There was an energy that you could feel. And then one day, some dude, they used to use these bronze orbs with holes in them and a straw. They would dunk it in water, put their thumb over the back, lift it up, and put it over themselves. One guy goes, "Hey, what happens if I put my thumb over the back and then put it in the water?" Hey. No water went in the little ball.
Something must be displacing.
Something is displacing the water. And then he said, "Guys, I got an idea." And that's when we discovered there was actually matter and mass all around us. Why didn't they write about air? It was in them and around them 24/7. There's no reason for the founding fathers, who were 99.9% Christian, to say, and don't forget, we're all Christians in this room, right? Let's write it down.
Except him also to say,
it is there in
the Declaration of Independence.
Countries that does happen.
It is there.
It
in all of the founding documents. God is actually present as well. It's just that they don't feel the need to say it in every clause.
But they never mention Jesus, and there's no mentions to Christianity, just allusions to moral and religious people. I think John Adams is smart enough that if he meant explicitly Christians, he would have said Christians specifically.
I guess he did.
Moral and religious.
He did. You just haven't read any Adams.
No, you're
Elad,
wrong. You're British.
Let's pause.
You think you know a lot more about American politics
Elad,
than you do.
How come our law books don't explicitly state that it only applies to humans?
Why do you,
I don't think these are like
I don't think these are.
Is it because we assume, as all humans, we're not applying laws to dolphins?
In American courtures, until
fact,
very very recently, in criminal trials in American courtrooms, what book do you swear on so that everyone knows you're telling the truth?
I think it's your own religious book.
Is it the Talmud?
Religious book. I think if you're
is it the Bhagavad Gita? Is it the Dead Sea Scrolls? No, it's the Bible. Grow up.
Do you know what percentage of this country right now is Christian?
Depends on how you define it, but at least 60,
no, it
70%.
doesn't. It's self-reported in
I don't know.
surveys.
Are you discriminating between Christians, Catholics, which denominations?
No, they're all Christians.
They're all Christians.
It's in
70%,
surveys.
give or
It's about
take?
70%.
Okay.
Right.
And
it's a
if you-
Christian country.
And do you know what that number was in like the 60s?
Probably closer to 90.
Did you hear that?
99.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Congratulations.
If you go
be
back,
nice to the your ruling elites, you know.
if you go back even 50 years, this country is
Might
about
serve you better.
95% Christian. If you go back 100, it's 100% Christian. There's very few people who weren't. Maybe some immigrants from Asia were, Buddhist or Confucianist or whatever.
And it would never have been imagined that they would have been running for
Muslim
president.
countries who, despite being 99% Muslim, still decide to enshrine their religious law explicitly. Islam
But they're not
explicitly
America, and
in their
that's not what America did.
Okay. Did they do it in Britain at all? Did they?
Let me ask you a question.
Is Britain a Christian country? I'm not sure. Maybe you could tell us about Britain instead of America.
The King of England is the head of the Church of England.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking the British guy, not the American citizen.
I can't believe you don't know this, but the British monarch is also the head of the Church of England, which is the Anglican Church.
Yeah.
So Canterbury Cathedral has an archbishop who is the sort of religious, if you like, the chief executive in corporate terms. And in corporate terms, the president of the board, the chief of the board, is the monarch. So if you are an English monarch, you have to be an Anglican because they are also the head of the church, because the English church is an established church. So a disestablishment, which happened in 1776, is where you divorce religion from the state technically, right? And the reason it happened in 1776 is because if you're going to cast off the British king, you have to do something about the religion, because you can't be sort of paying obeisance to the head of your own religion when you've just deposed him as the head of your state. Okay.
Well, Milo, I apologize. It's truly easy to confuse you guys for a British country or a Muslim majority country.
I have a question for you. Do you want to finish?
Well, just simply to say that when you the Washington National Cathedral, for instance, right, which is an Episcopalian church, the Episcopalian branch of Protestantism was invented basically to mirror high Anglicanism in Britain, is a clone of Canterbury Cathedral, and there's a reason for that, because the Episcopalian Church was basically and Washington National Cathedral was created to be a parallel and almost identical religious institution. And that is when Washington National Cathedral, that's where the presidents get buried. That's where things happen in American public life. All those things where, you see all the presidents lined up and someone's being buried. It happens in Washington National Cathedral, which is an Episcopalian Christian church. That is the national church of this country.
So, Elad, I got a question for you about the Second Amendment. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, the right to keep and bear arms. I know that one, Milo. Necessary to the security of a free state.
Let's start from the beginning.
Roughly, I'm messing up.
You're being mean now.
No. I'm not being sorry. Hold on.
You're being cruel.
I am not being mean.
This is the one I know.
This is my point. And it's not to put him on the spot to say, you can look it up. I don't care.
I'm not looking it up.
A well-regulated militia.
All right, well. You got the well-regulated. I forgot that part. A well-regulated militia necessary to the security of a free state. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What does it mean? Why did the founding fathers want that written in? What was their intent?
I think the attitude of the country at the time was of rebellion, and they were thinking that they needed to maintain being armed.
They wanted to continue the state of rebellion. Makes total sense.
No, well, they saw the tyranny that existed when they weren't armed, and they wanted to give the ability and the God-given right.
Why didn't they write that? Why didn't they include that in the amendment?
The God-given part?
Why didn't they write everything you just said down?
Because they spoke in lawyer talk and not.
So just one sentence. So, but clearly, if their intent was rebellion, they would have included for these purposes to oppose.
Well, a well-regulated militia, I guess, to prevent. I mean, that part could be argued.
Why did they write it down?
The whole thing?
Why didn't they write down what you're saying?
They were quite prolix people. I mean,
because there are
many thousands.
There are more implications that aren't explicitly laid out.
The point is this.
You mean implications that aren't explicitly laid out, like moral and religious people, meaning Christian?
This is my point.
No, I don't think those are like kind still. I still don't think this is like kind comparisons, though.
You're asking why they didn't write Christianity in a Bible when they were all Christians and assumed everyone was. And you're also stating that there are things they meant that they did not write down later. So which is it?
I just think you guys are reading into this quote really hard.
Answer the question I'm asking you.
Repeat it.
Were the founding fathers leaving out information that was assumed, or were there things they intended to include they didn't write down?
There were things left out there. People obviously.
Could that be that everyone in the room was Christian, so the assumption was moral and religious meant Christian?
It could be, but I don't think that's what he's referring to in this quote. I think it's much easier to say, if you explicitly mean Christian here, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. If he meant specifically Christian, I think it's an obvious thing.
I don't think
in other
hold on. You made one point.
In Muslim majority countries, they say so explicitly.
Elad, you made a point. Your point will be answered to. Don't gish gallop. Satanism is not a religion that the founding fathers would have considered to be moral and religious. Right?
I agree.
Nor is Judaism.
Well, I don't think debatable. I think they would have said Judaism is moral and religious.
Not debatable.
What other religions did they mean here?
Not debatable.
Besides Christianity, they only meant Christianity. Then I don't see as to why they wouldn't say that explicitly. If they only meant Christianity by moral and religious people, John Adams here, I think he would have said so explicitly. I think it's more inclusive than that.
Were they Christians? Let me
explain why.
Some were, some weren't. Were they Christians? Some were and some weren't.
All the founders were some form of Christian. I'll explain.
And now the question then is, do Christians typically say that other religions are correct?
I think
come on, the answer is no.
Chosen people. I think the Christians say the Jews are chosen people. So something about that. No,
Christians don't go around saying, well, the Mormons got a point.
Torah, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one of you Christians could tell me more about it.
In order to demonstrate this, you can look, for instance, at the highest authority in America, which is not the president; it's the Supreme Court. Things are decided in America in courtrooms. The courtrooms are the places where America's national dramas play out, okay? Whether it's Roe versus Wade, the abortion debate is framed in terms of a court case, right? Whether it's the OJ trial, which told white America, there might be a problem here. I don't think blacks are buying into this thing that we wanted them to do post-emancipation, right? I think actually maybe they're just going to vote with other black people, and maybe we got a problem here, right? To Trump, to the Bush-Gore election, all of America's great national dramas are played out in the courtroom, okay? And the Supreme Court is the highest authority in this country because they get to choose the president if no one else can make their mind up.
Yeah.
Right? So
they can also rule on whether the president go to jail.
Of course. And in that place, they are holding their verdicts against a constitution that is based on Christian principles, such as oath breaking, the commandment against bearing false witness.
Right.
Which means if you make a contract with somebody else, you stick to it. And if you don't, they can sue you and you got to pay them.
This is actually
that flows directly from the Christian commandment about bearing false witness, just like all the other laws and just like the Constitution.
One more point before we jump to the next story, though. You would say that there are people in China, they're religious. They have a religion.
I'm not sure.
I believe it's largely Buddhist. I could be.
I think there's some Christians. I'm sure there's some moral and
Buddhism is a
people
religion, right?
in China. I don't think kind of Buddhism is a religion. Actually.
You don't think Buddhism is a religion?
No, I think people are also like Buddhist in other things.
I can hear an outcry of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo.
How about this? Hare Krishna.
Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Oh dear.
Hare Krishna.
There's 1,000 crystals just lit up.
What is that?
Hinduism.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. How come in these countries they don't have a Fifth Amendment?
Because they're trash countries.
Do you know what the Fifth Amendment is?
That's not an answer.
Do you know what the Fifth Amendment is?
It's to not be self-incriminated, not to provide.
That's the easy one. There's several components to it.
Okay.
So my point is, it is rooted in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. You get a right to a trial. These things, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The right to fourth is search and seizure. If it was just about being religious in general, well, the founding fathers understand that China was religious, but they do not protect an individual's right to a trial, a jury of their peers against self-incrimination. That's quite literally rooted in the Bible. I researched this intentionally because I was wondering why the founding fathers. I read about all the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment was originally supposed to be, what was it, like salaries? The second was supposed to be apportionment. I could be mixing them up. And they ultimately dropped those. There were 17 original articles. They got condensed and some got eliminated. The Second Amendment used to have a line in it that stated that even if you did not serve in the military, you still had your right to keep and bear arms, which was so important because the left is arguing that the Second Amendment only applies to a well-regulated militia. And the original articles, I think it was the fourth at the time, stated you don't got to be in the military. You get to keep your guns. And they said, whoa, 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 whoa. This could be used in court to argue against conscription, that when we call someone up to serve to defend this nation, they could say, no, let's remove that part, have it be implied that everyone just keeps to have their guns. Now the Democrats are literally arguing that it means only a well-regulated militia. And it's like, heavens me, did you literally read about anything the founding fathers wrote when they were crafting this? They were all like, we want to make sure everybody has weapons. It's not just about tyranny. It's a generality. There is fear of a tyrannical government. However, they don't want people rising up against them. There was, what's I forgot the guy's name. There was the rebellion after the revolution when they didn't pay the people who fought. They revolted, and Jefferson and the other founding fathers were like, no, we're pardoning all of them because we cannot found a nation on internal fighting. There's a bigger component with the Second Amendment, and that is the militia is necessary to a free state, not just to oppose domestic problems, but foreign problems as well. If a foreign nation wants to invade and the average citizenry can rise up and form militia, they are much more defensible. However, because they didn't explicitly write it, they wrote it in external papers, drafts, and letters. The Democrats are now trying to strip us of those rights.
Right. So if you don't know anything about this, and you don't read the Federalist Papers, and you don't understand how all this stuff comes, it's easy to. And we can apply this to the First Amendment too. What is the First Amendment really for? It is to provide people with the freedom to do good or to do evil. Right? It's to provide them with the free will to be saved or to be damned. Okay, and they can stand or fall on their own words, and no other man can say, you can do this, you can say this, or you cannot say this. Freedom is not really a Christian virtue, but it exists in the Bill of Rights because it provides people with the ability to do right or to do wrong, and then be judged by it in the hereafter. Okay, and to be able to express yourself in whatever way you want is a radical, dangerous, and unprecedented level of freedom that has not really existed in society or civilizations before this. That is only possible because it was assumed that America would always stay Christian. And as America has become less Christian, both of those first two amendments have begun to become a problem, particularly the first one, because we now live just to demonstrate how wrong you are. Now that we live in a post-Christian America, which I think it's fairly unarguable that we do.
Let me pause real quick. Real quick, just make a point. And even though the country is 70% Christian, I believe large quantities are not practicing or paying attention. Or voting.
Yes, but I mean, sure. There's a lot. I mean, people who believe in prosperity gospel and whatever, I wouldn't really class as,
But continue.
Thank you. Now that we live in what is, in many ways, a post-Christian country, and I don't think it's because of that. I think what it really is that a country is its cities, right? Civilization, from civis, the Latin means to live. It means to live in cities. Civilization means to live in cities, right? And a country is its cities, and we've lost our cities, right? And the cities determine the character, the laws, and the nature of a society, of a nation. We have lost our cities, and our cities are definitely post-Christian, if not actively anti-Christian. So I think that's probably really what I mean. Now, that a given, what is the result of that? The First Amendment has provided for this creation of two completely different parallel fact universes that Americans now live in. There's the universe that you live in if you are. I mean, we could. This is an oversimplification, but if let's say it's left and right. Let's say it's Democrat, Republican. Okay, it's not a very satisfactory way to talk about these categories. Maybe better would be like Bernie, Trump versus Hillary, Romney, right? But there are two completely different fact universes that Americans now live in, and every single issue that you talk about, whether it is moral or practical, has an A and a B that you have to choose between. And most people just line up with their tribe, okay?
Yep.
We live in these two completely different fact universes. This is a psychic fracture, a damaging, dangerous, psychological rift that has opened up in the heart of the country that has made America schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. It has given America, and this is a product of freedom shorn of Christianity. This is a problem of a First Amendment without the restraining influence of Christian moral teaching, which tells us that we must adhere to the truth, which holds in the transcendentals beauty, truth, and goodness, that we must always aspire to do those things that are good, beautiful, and true, and that promote unity, depending on which church fathers you read, okay? Take Christianity out, and the First Amendment is a mendacious liar's charter that rewards the people who lie the most audaciously and without honor and without regret. And it has created this psychic break in the country. That is what happens, and the founders knew this. That is what happens when you have a First Amendment shorn of Christianity.
It lifted the guardrails off morality.
So we know that this argument is correct because we have witnessed what happens when you take Christianity out of the equation.
And let's add to that with the Fifth Amendment. You end up with defense of the worst vile criminals. You end up with people being released.
Yes.
So I always phrase it like this. And again, Christians, hey, I'm not a Christian, but I recognize logic.
We'll get you.
Sure. If everybody on the planet, everyone on the planet was Seamus Coughlin, I know Seamus is a good dude. I know what he believes. I know how devout he is. If everyone on the planet had the same moral framework as Seamus, there would be no war. There would be no murder. You would need no police except for getting kittens out of trees. Because Seamus fears something beyond himself and doesn't want to infringe upon others.
I think that's the fire service, but I take your point. And just to say, you may not be a believer yet. You may not be a believer ever. I'm not going to.
Let me say something real quick about hell or whatever. I don't think that most Christians are motivated by a fear of hell. I feel like atheists try to claim that. I feel like when I talk to Seamus, it seems like his greatest concern is being without God's grace. Is that?
Well, it's the same thing. So when Dante talks about the circles of hell, the furthest away from God are the cold ice things, because
shoot in the devil's mouth.
The sort of slow icy chew, because for a Christian. To be out of the light and love of God is a cold thing, right? That lake of fire is a metaphor, okay, for torment, and it's the torment of despair. The torment of despair is that position in darkness and distance from which you cannot be saved, from which God's love and light cannot reach you because you're no longer open to His salvific message. Okay, so it's a cold place. In a dark place, it is out there somewhere in the universe, unreachable by law, and it's a place of ultimate despair.
And who is warranting the lowest level of hell?
Traitors.
Correct.
In Dante's Inferno.
Correct. Yeah. So Dante's teaching, Dante's Inferno is not official Catholic Church teaching, but it was written at a time and within the context, very much in a Catholic context. Okay. So it's not official Catholic Church teaching, but it is has been enormously influential because it reflects the manner in which we think about particular kinds of sins. All right. For instance, sodomy is one of those sins that cries out to heaven for vengeance. It's like that bad. In addition to, for instance, denying the poor their wages. If you are employing somebody who needs that money to pay their children, and without it, their children may go hungry, and you withdraw their wages. That is
that is withholding wage law. So that's another of the sins that cries out to heaven for vengeance, right? And these things are places that put you beyond and out in the cold. In addition to treachery, and what is treachery? Treachery is oath breaking. It is a violation of the commandment against bearing false witness. Bearing false witness means lying in official contexts. And that's the basis of America. That's the basis of American democracy.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.